Good morning and a very warm welcome to the World of Fenestration's second edition of Masterclass in association with YKKAP and Boruka Aluminium. Trust all is well and hope that you and your families are staying safe during this pandemic. On behalf of ABEC Exhibitions and Conferences Private Limited and ITE Group, it is my privilege to have you at this webinar today. Our masterclass series aims at providing the industry with in-depth technical knowledge shared by leading fenestration experts from India as well as overseas. With their thought leadership, we will be covering all the key segments of facade and fenestration. Today's session will be focusing on safe and comfortable housing with windows. Without any delay, let me introduce our eminent panelists for today's masterclass. Our moderator for today, Gautam Bhasin, Regional Manager, Inhabit Group, Karl Wadia, Senior Associate, Architect Hafiz Contractor, Rajat Agarwal, Director, Boruka Extrusions, Yoshitaka Mishichita, KAPC Japan, Baiju Mehta, Manager Sales and Marketing, Boruka Aluminium. We would like to specially thank our sponsors for today, YKKAP, and without any delay, I would now like to hand over the mic to Gautam Bhasin ji to take over the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohit Bhai, and a very good late morning to everyone on a Saturday, and thank you for connecting with us. We intend to keep this session very interactive, and the idea is that there will be opportunities for audience engagement. We are planning to have very interesting polls to gain audience feedback, and we're also planning to take questions. So at any point in time you have any technical questions, please feel free to leave them at the chat, and we will try and collate the questions and address them by the relevant experts on the panel today at the right point in time. And with that, I think I'll hand over the dais to our first speaker, Rajat Agarwal.
Sorry, Gautam ji. Just before we enter into the actual panel discussion, we want to play a short video by our sponsors today. Please allow me.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Look around, here and there. All around us, in our lives. Everyday things you open and close. We are there. Innovating for over 80 years. YKK has expanded as a global company. We deliver customer care through quality. From a small child to the vastness of space, we are striving to create a happier society through manufacturing.
Thank you very much. And now, Gautam ji and all the panelists, it's all yours. Thank you.
Yeah. And with that, I think Rajat Agarwal, who's going to walk us through the wonderful company that he represents.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this masterclass today. I would begin by thanking Acetec for organizing this event, and Mr. Gautam and Mr. Karl for agreeing to graciously help us with their expertise and, more importantly, their time. Thank you so much, Gautam ji. Thank you so much, Karl. I would request Majista Sans to begin the presentation, and I will just spend the next 5 minutes or so taking you over the YKKAP and the Boruka Group. So the theme for today's presentation is safe and comfortable housing with windows. And my team, which is Baiju from India and Majista Sans from Japan, would be talking in further detail as we go along. I will just give you a quick overview of our group's history and how we started. Bharuka Extrusions is located in the city of Mysore, which is in Karnataka. It's about 130 kilometers south of Bangalore. This is our headquarters. We have branches in 8 major cities, pan-India. The company was started 4 decades ago. This is our 41st year. We have been pioneers in many firsts throughout the year. For example, we were the first company in India that turned 100% made to order in 1992. We were the first company in India to have an in-house anodizing plant along with an extrusion plant in 1996. We were also the first company to have a powder coating plant in 2006, along with an anodizing and extrusion facility. And in 2013, the company was 100% acquired by YKK. Post that, we have invested heavily in technology, both in equipment and also in services. I'm proud to say today we are again the first company in the aluminum extrusion space that is 100% online. All our customers can log in. They can check the entire order status, production status, dispatch status, even the truck driver registration and the truck driver number. So we are 100% online, and technology has been the hallmark that distinguishes us from other extruders. About the YKK AP Group, AP stands for Architectural Products. I will delve into the origin of YKK in the coming slides, but quickly, the YKK AP Group is divided into 6 business segments. We start from the residential business, which does doors and windows, the exterior business, which does products like carports, the renovation business, which is a significant, source of business and very much required for the environment. For example, in countries like US, Japan, there's a lot of renovation market that is picked up. Then we have the commercial product business, where we do our unitized curtain walls, semi-unitized curtain walls, stick glazing, so on and so forth. We have the facade business, which is headquartered in YKK AP Singapore. And via the facade business, we do everything from installation, right from design, build, and also installation. And finally, we have the industrial product business, where we cater some portion of our global extrusions and products and services to various automotive segments and other industrial segments. Our founder, Mr. Tadao Yoshida. So the YKK Group was started in the year 1934, and the YKK AP Group was started in the year 1957. Right through our initial founding years, the core of the group has been the cycle of goodness, where we strongly believe that no one prospers unless without rendering benefit to others. So I think this also resonates a lot with our Indian culture. For example, growing up and studying in school, I always personally learned the saying that, kar bhala to ho bhala, or do good, to receive good. So I think the YKK philosophy strongly embodies that point, and that is something that we strongly share between our Indian and Japanese counterparts. So these values are what guide us on a day-to-day basis, and that's what brings us here today. This is just showing a quick summary of the YKK AP, the architectural division, how it is spread throughout the world. Today, we are in 10 countries with regions in 15 bases. As I had mentioned earlier, the YKK AP Group started in the year 1957, and it entered India by buying Bharuka in the year 2013. The first international expansion of the group was to Singapore, which was in 1976. And our latest expansion is in Canada, wherein we have acquired a specialized unitized curtain wall company called Erie Architectural. This was acquired 100% in the year 2019. So even though we are part of a much larger YKK group, the AP division has been international since 1957, and we are slowly expanding our offerings and our products and services throughout the globe. And we are really, really excited to be in India since 2013. We did spend the first initial years to study the market and get to know the market and the requirements better. And now that we have launched our first door window system for India called Ivan, we are very, very excited to give you a brief presentation and discuss what we have to offer for India this morning. Some of the accolades that we have received over the years in countries spread across the globe. For example, in the US, we have received the Product Innovation Award for 8 consecutive years. We have a very diverse portfolio in the US, right from doors window to curtain wall, through hurricane windows, through thermal break unitized curtain wall systems, systems which are very, very important for energy conservation. In Taiwan, we have been rated the top brand for 8 consecutive years. In Indonesia, we have won the award of top property for 2 consecutive years. And including various awards in China. So this goes to show that YKK AP really understands the local market that we operate in. And once we understand the local market, we launch products over the years that are suitable to the local market, to the local climatic conditions, to the way the cultural influences of how people operate the windows, what they prefer. And these awards are a testament to our local proposal skills. As I had mentioned earlier, we have a significant business in Singapore, which is the AP facade business. And this business has taken highly challenging, highly complex turnkey projects throughout the globe. What I show you in this slide are just some of the examples. On the left, we have the spiral towers. This was done in the year 2008 in Nagoya, Japan. It includes 7,145 triangular panels of glass. On the top right is again an award-winning project, which is called Reflections. This project had won the Luxury Residential Award in Singapore in the year 2014. And on the bottom right, which most of you will be familiar by, is the project Gardens by the Way. This was actually in the Guinness Book of World Records for the world's largest greenhouse in the year 2015. So as you can see, our group has deep technical expertise in executing large and complex projects. And what we have learned over the years, we really, really hope to bring that learning to India and really add value to the product portfolio, to the lifestyle, and to the people, in our country. So, we are really excited for today's session, and hopefully we get some good discussions and good feedback from all of you to help us better improve our products and services.
Right, thanks, Rajat. I think that almost leads us into a quick poll for the audience. Obviously, it seems like you guys have done some really great work around the world. So maybe we'll have the first poll on the screen now. Everybody gets 30 seconds to put in their votes, and then right post 30 seconds, we'll display the results. And here we go. A company that we should all know about. So I think you'll have a lot to say, a lot to speak, and a lot to share throughout today's presentation.
So we are very excited that 60% of the people polled that they have heard of YKK. Just for some of you who didn't know, YKK is also the world's largest fastening product manufacturing company. If you look at most zippers, you will see the words YKK written on the zip. We have a 75% world market share, and we are very excited by the results. So I would now like to hand back the presentation to Gautamji.
Right, thank you, Rajat. A great introduction just for us to understand what YKK represents around the world in terms of business and product lines. I think just before we move into the next part of the presentation, I think we would like to know who our audience is. So perhaps before we start the next set of slides, let's have the second poll on the screen. So the question is, if you're involved in design, fabrication of window systems, and this may be relevant to architects, consultants, fabricators, whatever your business may be, what is the large share of your business? Is it commercial buildings? Is it residences, which could be in form of apartments or villas and bungalows, or retail buildings? So another 30 seconds for everyone to punch in their answers. Yeah, seems like there's a good mix of commercial and types of residential, some really small share of retail buildings. So I think we have the right audience today, and I think there'll be a lot to take from the presentations and the contents and the speakers today. So without holding back the further content, I think let's pass on the dais to Baiju Mehta, who represents YKK-AP and Bharuka in India, and he'll walk us through some really interesting content on how residential buildings can benefit from different design factors.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gautam ji, for the good introduction. Thank you, Rajat ji, for the wonderful presentation. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Karl, for being part of the masterclass. So I'll give a brief presentation about the ventilation and safety of the windows. Like people now are staying more at home, and to make your lives comfortable and safe is our wish. Over the past 6 months, there has been a lot of change in the living place. Before, the focus was on living room comfort, but now the focus is on each room comfort, because like most of the things are happening online. The lifestyle and work style trends have changed considerably over the past 3 months, and because most of the people are still working from home. What is required for building houses from now? So we'll explain you about the ventilation and safety aspect of windows.
Yeah, I think before we move to the next slide, this might be a good stage to sort of throw in the poll about how COVID has changed our lives and how does it impact our buildings as we speak. So can we have the next poll on the screen, please? So do you feel that COVID-induced changes to our way of life will force us to relook at the functionality of our doors and windows more seriously? And we're talking very specifically about getting adequate ventilation, etc. So another 30 seconds for everyone to punch their answers. Can we have the results, please? Yeah, well, it's an overwhelming yes, which again is no surprise. I think if the last 6 to 8 months have taught us anything, I think it's really important to have a well-ventilated house, and the role of doors and windows is extremely important. So I'd pass it back to Baiju to conclude the presentation.
Thanks, Gautam. So like people now are looking for more ventilation and safety for the windows. So I'd like to explain about the safety and natural ventilation. Since ancient times, there has been concept of natural ventilation in Japan, and now like it is getting renewed attention because of the COVID-19. Since ancient times in Japan, houses were designed in such a way that air used to flow comfortably inside the house. And people used modern fitting, like wooden fittings called Ranma and Fushima, in order to intake natural wind inside the house. These are the 5 ways in which the house can be comfortable with windows. First is to create air inlets and outlets. Second is to capture the wind according to the wind direction. Third is to increase the air vents. Fourth is safe ventilation and consideration for safety. And fifth is create a quiet environment. So I'll be explaining in detail about all the 5 topics.
Right. Could we have the next poll? And I think given that we're talking about, extremely important to understand how people perceive, what are the factors that people perceive that are important for getting ventilation. If you could just have the next poll. So the question is, what according to you is the most critical element to be considered for design of natural ventilation with operable windows? The first, which is the most commonly discussed, what kind of window do you want? The second is obviously the safety of the occupants. With an open window, it starts posing a risk for someone falling through. Third is the type of space. What kind of space do you want ventilated, whether it's an office or residence? And fourth is the external climate. So your answers in the next 30 seconds, please. And we have the results. A large majority talks about external climate being extremely important. If it's raining or if it's highly humid, it's less ideal to ventilate your house with that sort of exterior climate. Operable type, safety of occupants, type of interior space take the second, third, and the fourth place. So I think with that, we have the ground sort of well laid. Baiju probably can continue now.
Yeah, so I'll explain about the first topic. Like first is to create air inlets and outlets. To have effective ventilation, it is required to create sufficient inlet and outlet by opening multiple windows. So if you see the two pictures, on the left hand side is room without air outlet, and on the right hand side is room with air outlets. So the air flows circulates very easily in the second picture. Then this slide shows the difference in the wind flow. On the left is the sliding window and on the right is the casement window. So for the sliding window, the wind doesn't flow much into the house. And for the casement window, the wind flows approximately 22 times more as compared to the sliding window. Then this slide shows when the sliding window is replaced by casement window. More ventilation as compared to a house having a sliding window. Then like we should also have increase in air. The left side picture shows that air flow is less, and on the right hand side it shows the air flow is more because the intake and outtake of the air is more. So like we can replace a standard sliding window with a sliding window with a casement on the top. Then this slide again shows that by having an effective opening at a good location, the ventilation amount increases almost 9 times as compared to having a window opening of only one window. So on the left hand side, the photo shows that there is opening of only one window, and on the right hand side it shows there is opening of 2 windows. So the ventilation amount increases 9 times. And then it is very important to have a window with good ventilation, but the safety aspect also should be taken care of. So the controlling the opening is very important. See, so if you see we have a special safety lock. When you lock it, it opens only, it is only half open, and it restricts the opening of the window to 110 mm. And when you want to open it fully, it opens to 90 degrees. So you can do easy cleaning. So this is like very good safety for the child. And then like it is also very important to have a quiet environment inside the house. It is said that if sound is lowered by 10 dB, then human ear perceives that it is reduced to almost half. So with our IVNS windows, we can reduce the outside sound to almost 30 dBs. Yeah, and as I explained you earlier, these are the 5 ways to enhance comfort with windows, and we have the recommended products which we can increase all the 5. We can cover all the 5 topics.
Great. I think that sort of covered the ground well for the aspects of ventilation and how ventilation impacts our window systems and subsequently our interior spaces. I think there may be a very valid question as a poll. If we can have the 5th poll on the screen, please. So the question is, are you interested in incorporating natural ventilation in your window designs? And the options are very interested, and no interest. So let's have your answers on the next 30 seconds, please. Okay, great. I think close to 98% people would obviously want to incorporate natural ventilation in their window designs. So with that, I think we move to the next section, which is going to be a panel discussion. I think given that we have laid the grounds really well for discussion over natural ventilation and safety, I would like to take up a few questions to our fellow panelists here. The first question, I think, goes to the designer on the table first, to Carl. I think the large discussion is about what do developers or homeowners or people who choose a specific solution or kind of windows for their building or for their house, what do they expect from their windows? What are the expectations from a window solution? It could be about safety, ventilation, windows leak all the time. What in your experience has been the driver to go with one solution over the other?
Hi, Gautam. Good morning, everyone. So I think one of the things that has changed in the past couple of years is that rooms have become smaller, especially in the residential space. And as the rooms get smaller, people want larger windows because you want to feel like you're part of a larger space. So that's one very important thing. The amount of glazed area has increased. I mean, if you see a lot of old buildings, normally the window would be 4 feet by 4 feet at max for a 12 by 15 room. Now what we try and do is we try and make it at least 5 to 6 feet wide, and we take it all the way down to the skirting level, so that the amount of aperture opening has increased. But what that's done is it's increased the heat gain in our homes. So how to select windows and how to do the appropriate fenestration protection is very, very important. And as we've made our windows larger, there is a concern on safety, like you said, Gautam. And there is also a concern on rain protection. I think sliding windows have become far more popular in India now as compared to any kind of casement window. They are the easiest to maintain, and people are very, very concerned about cleaning their windows. So again, sliding windows offers you that that cleaning opportunity. There's always going to be an air leak in a slide door. So in a way, it works in the Indian environment. That small air leak, keeps the house created. Although it does cause humidity issues, but that air leak in a way helps in our tropical climate.
Fantastic. I think that's where I think the design and selection of window systems and what windows do we put in our building starts with the architect in the room as the first person. My next question is essentially the same, but it sort of addresses the technical nuances of the questions. And I think feel free, Baiju, Michita-san, either one of you can take this question. Now, what are the key design drivers or design factors that are of absolute importance when you choose to put in a window system before you call it a product? What are those key design drivers for you?
Hello everyone. Thank you for taking this good opportunities. So as Mr. Carl said, so for designing, also the performance is very important. So how to achieve the good performance with good design? This is a key factor, we think. Then, as you know, in Japan, we have a lot of typhoon and very hot summer, humidity summer, and very cold winter we have. So in this kind of severe weather, still we want to keep a good performance with certain design. This is an important factor, what we think about to launch the products for each area.
Right. I think that sort of addresses two sides of it. One is obviously the design, which is experiential from within. Like Carl said, the windows sizes have become bigger. The aspiration of taking your window all the way down to the floor has become increasingly important as aspirations in homeowners, as aspirations in developers, providing a solution to homeowners. And like Michita-san said, that performance becomes equally important. Carl mentioned about the role of heat gain with larger glaze surfaces, larger windows. Safety, I think, obviously plays a very, very important aspect. Larger glass panes become a bigger risk for it to break and potentially injure someone on the inside or potentially injure someone on the outside. So how do we cater to those design requirements or performance requirements? I think is of the utmost importance in today's design context.
Just quickly, Gautamji, if I may.
Yes, please.
When it comes to figuring out what are the key design factors, as we all discuss performance, but YKK's philosophy is performance at a fair cost, at a reasonable cost. So that price or that cost that we are charging, that should be seen as value by the homeowner. So the idea is that we price the product. We build in certain performance, for example, 350 Pascal for water tightness, 2.5 kPa for air, some 30 decibels lesser, but ensure that this is at a fair price, at a price which is perceived as value by the customer. Because, believe it or not, we have traveled all across India for the last, 7 years, and we have seen various doors and windows, and each one has some leakage problem, or after a couple of years, it's not sliding well, or the handles are breaking, fast, or the roller has not been able to take the weight. So I think, as a homeowner, and now most of us are spending more and more time at home, so we have all become homeowners from traveling businessmen, so from traveling salesmen. So, as a homeowner, I would like to have products that I can rely on, that I can use very often and at a reasonable cost, which represents value. So I think, that is what we look at while designing products for India.
Great. I think that's a fantastic segue to my next question, which I'd like to pose to Carl first, and then subsequently any one of you can pick up the question. Now, when we talk about window solutions, the market is packed with competition. There's all sorts of window solutions available, right from your neighborhood window fabricator all the way to the top brands, which basically have their own supply chain and own fabrication chain. Where do you think, I mean, where is the gap really? I mean, how do we compare locally available products and systems compared to what's imported or sort of designed overseas and imported from overseas, or perhaps locally manufactured but designed overseas? What are the key differentiators? Maybe we'll start with Carl to start with, and how relevant they are to the Indian climate and context.
So I think one of the factors that we forgot to talk about, which Rajat brought to the discussion, is cost. India is a very cost-sensitive market, and that becomes very clear when you have your clients or promoters making their window selections. What we found often in the past is you have the very high end of the market that wants to put imported windows, and it's not necessary that a window designed in Europe or America or the Far East is applicable to the Indian environment. What is now demonstrating itself is that many of these international manufacturers, they've realized that they need to design a window system for India. And once you do that, you're able to get it manufactured here, make it more appropriate to our climate, and hit the sweet spot in terms of cost. So, he was talking about the extreme weather in Japan. In a way, we're quite temperature band as compared to the human comfort temperature band is not as far out as, say, in Japan. The temperatures don't drop to extreme, sub-zero temperatures. Although it does hit 40, 45 degrees, there are simple passive architectural moves that can be made so as to get appropriate shading and go for a lower specification window. Also, although we require water tightness and air tightness, the requirement for air tightness is not as extreme as your European and Far Eastern northern climates. So in a way, big international suppliers who have understood that they need to design a system that is made in India for India, I think that's they're on the right track because they'll hit the sweet spot in terms of cost.
So yeah, thank you so much for that, Carl. And Gautamji, just to elaborate on that, this concept of import versus export, or the concept of the system being designed in a country outside India but being manufactured in India. So when it comes down to execution, when it comes down to product selection, at the end of the day, what really matters is, of course, the value, the performance, and the price. And along with that, when you look at subtle differences, right? For example, there are many companies in India manufacturing great window systems, right? There are many European system providers in India offering great products, right? And we as an organization would never say that our product is in any way very, very superior to their product, right? Our culture and our philosophy behind the product is that being a Japanese company, the entire manufacturing, which is right from owning an extrusion company to owning a hardware company, manufacturing in-house hardware, accessories, even the nuts, the bolts, the screws, YKK-AP Facade Singapore also doing the installation. So everything is in-house. So I think the business model plays a far bigger role. If you look at Amazon, the same product that I can find at a shop, just across my house, I still order from Amazon. Why don't I just walk down the road and pick up a product and bring it to my house? Because if I buy it from Amazon and something goes wrong, I do have the option of returning it, or I get my refund immediately. It takes away certain, it gives me a more sense of comfort when I deal with an alternate business model, even though the end product might be the same. So when it comes to YKK products, one is that we are offering that peace of mind, because it's one setup in India, one setup in Mysore, offering everything from profiles all the way till installation guided by our team. Everything is hardware, accessories, all are made by us. And I think this is, what we try to bring to the market. It's like a Japanese car. If you look at Toyota in India, they are offering a very, very high value car, at a very affordable price, compared to the European BMWs or Mercedes. So, we are trying to be, we are sort of trying to be the Toyota of Indian windows, offer you a great product, without the hassles at a great price, which you perceive as value.
So Rajat, now that you brought up Toyota, they made a very strong statement about 2 days ago about not wanting to invest further in India.
Yeah, that is because of the political climate, and they perceive the Kirloskar managing director perceives that India is treating cars as a luxury product and not really giving them the traction to build low cost, high volume value products in the country. So I sincerely hope that that will not be the fate with most international companies trying to enter this great country and start investing in manufacturing products in India, using Indian materials, using Indian companies, and using Indian labor force. So let's be positive.
Well, I really hope that YKK becomes the next Toyota, let's say.
Thank you.
Just to sort of get to maybe harp on that point a little more, where you spoke about sort of local value creation, where you have acclimatized the product, which Toyota I think has done really well. Their car speaks volume. Their engines last longer than most other brands. What is that specific acclimatization that you guys bring to the table, or when you think about India as a market or India as a place to sell windows or sell a specific product? What is that change that you need to bring about in your products? I mean, it could be a conversation around, how climate is not significantly or dramatically different, but it has its own nuances. So what is that secret sauce that goes into that product which gets sold here?
So, that's an interesting question, because like I said, we spent a number of years, visiting many projects, sites, interviewing and meeting in person with architects, developers, homeowners, consultants, really trying to figure out, what is it that they need. For example, when you talk about performance, yes, there are many companies in India, talking about performance and saying their system conforms to a particular water tightness or air. But what we really found out that, it basically boils down to a couple of things for the homeowner. One is, especially with sliding windows, it's the roller, right? How good is the roller? Because the way the window slides, the way the window moves, how easy it is, how does it lock? How comfortable is it to lock and unlock a window? While locking, are your fingers hitting the edge of the frame? Is there a pinching that is happening? So I think we paid more attention to these user-generated feedback. What can make the user really like our product, so that the developer can actually use our product as a selling point. For example, child safety. For example, Carl mentioned earlier that in a casement window it is difficult to clean, but in our casement windows it opens 90 degrees, so you can put your hand back and clean, right? So these kind of features related to safety. For example, I recently met a developer in Pune prior to the lockdown, of course. And during the meeting when I visited his project, so they have made a kids room. So there's a specific room, kids room. So I said, YKK offers, these special safety features of the panel not falling out, of the kid's head not going out. And why don't you market that you're using, special kids safety features for your kid room window, which is separate from a window in a living room or a bedroom, right? So we can start getting into that level of customization when it comes to specific products. So, I read a case study many years ago in school about Fujitsu. When they started launching elevators in India, they made the call button, much more sturdier than they made in any other country, because they realized that, we as Indians, even if the button is pressed, when we join the queue, we still go and press it once. So the buttons needed to be much more stronger than the buttons for any other country. So it's the same philosophy that we are trying to bring into our products.
Yeah, fantastic. I think
Keep
needless to
pressing,
say,
thinking it'll come faster.
yes. I think there's that slight cultural component that also plays a part in how people treat their architectural products or building products. Yeah, I mean, lift button, sometimes people mistake it that if you want to bring it up, you press the up button.
Right.
So great. I mean that obviously it's one of the sensible approaches to take, where you basically think about that end user, that lady in the house, that small child in the house, and how they interact with your products. And I think that brings the value down to people selecting your products eventually, as a full package to be offered to someone. I think Carl brought some really interesting points about the user interface. So I think I'll just pass the screen to Carl. Maybe you can walk us through some of your experience of designing spaces and what are the tenets of choosing building fenestration and facade.
Is my screen visible, Gautam?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Hi. So what I'm going to talk about today is, sorry, 1 second. Right. So what I'm going to try and talk about today is that, Windows is not just about making selections and, looking at cost. I think selection of window and facade, just like you would select a shirt which is appropriate for you to wear on your body, is all about, it has to tie in with the overall design goal of the project. So, what you see on the screen is general design goals of a project, be it the construction, the facade, or anything like that. And something that we've been taking very seriously lately is to be in sync with the idea of biophilia. That is to design buildings where you're closer to nature, your association with the outdoor is more is more prevalent in your design. So we have to make sure that our spaces are bright and well lit. You have good ventilation, and there are actually studies done by international institutions that demonstrate that human beings, when they are in a more biophilic environment, they function better. They sleep better at night. They have 10 to 15% better productivity, and all of this is prior to COVID. The study that you see on the screen. We personally have found that staying home, being less in the air conditioner, taking a laptop and sitting by the window and working, and all of this is somehow come true. So when we look at window selection, it's not just about, here is a plan, here is an elevation, and let's pick a window. I think first and foremost, it is the designer's responsibility to make sure that we thermal buffer our buildings. So, when we design a project, we need to make sure we're getting from a space which is, 40, 45 degrees. It feels like 50 degrees. The intensity of light is about 100,000 lux. You move into a shaded space, and then you further move into a transitional space, and then the interior, so that you allow your senses, your eyes, your ears, all of that to sort of slowly calm down from an outdoor to an indoor environment, and vice versa. Because if you think about it from an out to in approach, it automatically becomes comfortable from an in to out approach as well. So you don't want to exit a glass box of a building directly into a 40 degree temperature environment. So this is where shading and selecting the right kind of fenestration becomes all this also more important. So you can see these two diagrams that I show you on the screen. On the top is a standard building design. You have an unshaded facade with lots of sunlight penetration. There is a guy sitting by the window with having glare on his computer. And to sort of defeat all of that, you put lots and lots of lights to make the space even more brightly lit, and you roll the blinds down. versus if you shade your building appropriately, you set your window in at the right depth, and you elevate your window from the floor to the perfect height, you are able to create a much more shaded and more comfortable environment for the indoors. And the way we do this is, what you're looking at is just a sort of standard project study. So we normally take our buildings and we put them through a thorough process of study, be it irradiation, which is the calculation of heat gain on various surfaces of a building. So you can see the diagrams on the left demonstrate all the shaded areas being much more cooler in terms of ambient temperature and direct heat gain as opposed to the exposed surfaces. And you're able to pretty accurately map which facades of your building need more care and love and care in terms of fenestration study, and which facades are going to be naturally kept shaded and cool through these sort of studies. You also need to look at your buildings from a wind perspective to make sure that you're able to capture and allow. I think in the YKK's presentation, we could see the advantages of cross ventilation, that you have 9 times the amount of air flowing through your space if you have cross ventilation as opposed to if you don't have cross ventilation. I mean, that's something that I didn't know up to today, that the factor is 9x. And when you do this right, I mean, these are some facts that we want to bring out in today's presentation, that by doing the appropriate amount of study and choosing the right kind of facade, we've been able to design buildings that consume about 40% less energy, in fact 57% less energy, that use 40% less energy for air conditioning, 50% less watt per square foot for lighting, and 62% for your lighting energy targets. These are all actual measured data after 2-year life cycle of the buildings we're talking about. I wouldn't want to get specific, but the project that we're talking about is the Manipal University in Jaipur. So you can see lots of small windows, and through going through a very intense process of data-driven design, we were able to design the largest campus in India, which is Griha 5-star rated, a hostel campus of nearly 3,000 rooms, 6,000 beds, which has got LEED Platinum rating, and the largest net zero building in India of 3.5 lakh square feet, which is also the 3rd largest net zero building in the whole world. And we were able to achieve this not just by doing acres and acres of solar farms, but really by bringing down, I'll go back a slide now, by bringing down the energy usage by almost 60%, and then optimizing it by using solar. And you can still create a beautiful architecture. There's no need to have fancy looking facades to get good energy efficient buildings. And I think these images demonstrate it. The next project I'm just going to highlight is one that we are working on currently. It's a very complex circular hostel building with windows and fenestrations facing all the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. So you have this very challenging, ever that shows, I don't know if you can see my mouse. So this is the orientation of the building to your north, south, east, west. And these diagrams, this orientation reference shows you that on 0 degrees, on 22.5 degrees, 45 degrees, every 10 degrees that we turn the building, the heat gain changes. And based on the changed heat gain, we were able to identify a priority list. So you can see the first priority. These are the facades that we're really concerned with, that we need to shade. And accordingly, the priority keeps reducing through the building. So this really helps us, information-based design helps us choose the optimum fenestration. Some of these studies indicate that we've also done wind studies. We take this very, very seriously. So this is a double loaded corridor. We want to make sure that there's cross ventilation. So there's a lot of thermal comfort in the room. And some of these diagrams indicate the various facades of the building. So be it northwest, northeast, south, southeast, southwest, or north, you can see that the heat gain is completely different. So you'll see all my north facades are blue. My southwest and southeast facades have maximum yellow and orange, especially in the lower half of the windows. The south is, we always think the south is the worst, but actually it's not. And as you again move to the northeast and the northwest, you can see more of blue creeping in. So it's important to do these studies to understand how much lux level you want within your space to make sure that the space is comfortable, and accordingly choose your fenestration. So just an example, so you see a northwest window, what is the optimum amount of projection, what is the sunlight penetration, and therefore how much we need to reduce the size of the window or increase it based on the radiation. So you can see here, this is your northwest case, where we need to reduce by 12% to keep the thermal comfort inside perfect. But if you go to a southeast, you need to reduce it by 25% to keep your thermal comfort appropriate. So there we introduce a parapet wall. So I think architects or the design fraternity who's not thinking about all these things actually doesn't care. And we have to start caring. We have to start making our buildings more responsible and start doing things, thinking about the facade and the elevation of the building, but also thinking about internal comfort. Because if anything that this pandemic has taught us is that people with homes who are, which are not comfortable, which are not well cross-ventilated, we feel sorry for them because they're not living in comfortable homes, or they're not working in comfortable offices. And if all this had been thought through at the design stage, I think things would be very different. So I'm just going to run you through a couple of other projects that are built. So this is a project that we did in Thane for Lodha. You can see we strategically have made openings to make sure that the internal courtyards are well ventilated from cross breezes point of view, but also from the point of view of the stack effect. You can see windows that need the protection are protected with chhajjas. This also takes care of the safety railing element. You can see these are small bedrooms, the windows brought down to the floor with the safety rail at an appropriate height. Now I'm going to talk about one or two other projects where we have already in the last 5 to 7 years, our firm has been a market leader in thinking about what is today suddenly very, very relevant. Suddenly we talk about ventilation systems and this and that because it's the new in thing to talk about with COVID. But these are things that we've been slowly doing over the last 5-7 years as a matter of process and as a matter of trying to do better design. So here is a building that we did in Matunga. It's called W54. And you can see in this building, we've already started to integrate ventilation systems within the window frame. We started working with manufacturers that offer that. And you can see here, this is the ventilation system within the frame. This is also a seamless facade. So you can see here in this image on the right-hand side, you don't see the glass railing because the glass railing is actually fitted within the sliding window frame. So these are things that we would like Indian manufacturers or international manufacturers who come to India to start looking at. Indians love opening their windows and standing at the edge and being connected to the world outside. So these are some of the details that we indigenously developed and enforced onto our fabricators. And we're glad to say that our fabricators, for this project, we work with Doors and Doors. and we're glad to say that they were able to deliver the windows and the system the way we wanted it. So you can see here is a full sliding door system with a glass railing with a protection rail, and also you can stand inside your house and clean most of it. We did face some ergonomic issues on the right hand side, which you'll see in subsequent slides. We fixed it in projects to come. Well, when we tried opening the window, our hand would keep hitting the glass railing. This is what the project looks like in its completed form. This is another project we're doing where with the same developer, and we tried to sort of take this idea of ventilation systems forward. So what you see here is you see a sliding window system with a vertical ventilator fixed within this system. So this is an actual photograph at the site. We've gone with the system designed by Rensen from Belgium, and the window system is done by Schuko, and the vertical frame is taken off from the wall, and the customized Rensen system is fitted on the right hand side. So you can see what this does is it allows fresh air to come inside the house, and there's a simple knob at the bottom near the skirting level where you can just turn it off in the night when you turn on the air conditioning. But for the rest of the day, you have cross ventilation and fresh air with a drop in humidity entering your house throughout the day. Here you can just see an image of the previous project where we had our own learnings from ergonomic problems to how we have fixed it in the subsequent projects as we move along. Here I want to talk about another private residence that we're doing in Bandra in Mumbai. This is a very different type of project with 7-meter high windows and all of that. But again, here what we've done now, we've gone with a different system of ventilation. Here again, we've used Rensen to bring in the ventilation from the outside. So you can see this is the elevation. It's a 7-meter tall glazing. It's a double height. So if I go back to the facade, it's this area here on the top. And we have a vertical vent of 7 meters tall throughout the entire height of the facade. We have fixed windows here. We have a lift and slide here. We have a tilt and turn. And this is the kind of Endura twist system to bring in the ventilation from the side, but not allow any water or other things in. So this is how the system works. It goes from the side and enters. So you have a significant drop in humidity as well, and it's pretty easy to maintain. So these are all things that we've been doing and thinking about from well before COVID times, and we're glad to see that this is a photograph of the project under construction. Very nice, 4.5 meter high floor to floor. All this detailing is done in concrete, and the windows will be fitted now in the next 6 months. So yeah, that's all from me, Gautam. The idea was just to touch upon the fact that these are things that need to be thought of, and I'm glad that the platform has suddenly become larger, and the whole idea of expediting this is suddenly going to take place as a matter of urgency.
Great, thanks, Carl. I think clearly some very interesting touch points there about the experiential nature of these elements on the building, where how do you experience it from the inside, the safety aspect, ventilation very well touched upon. I think we've been getting quite a few questions. So before we move into the next section of the panel, I think let's just take up some questions. The very first question that we received was more to do with one slide specifically. I think that was in Baiju's presentation, which is why casement window is more functional than sliding. This is from Labdi Kumari. And that I think spoke about the entire ventilation loop that got created from a sliding window versus having two casement windows. So I think either Baiju or Shita-san can take this one.
Yeah, basically the window is coming to the direction is just straight to the building. Then this window is coming around along the building, so that the window direction will be along with the building facade. Therefore, if just intake the window from the 90 degrees, if so, sliding window, the volume of air intake also same, but surrounding airflow want to intake. In this case, casement window is more effective.
Right. I think that particular slide also had the difference of having just one sliding pane that opens versus two casement panes that open at the end. So the center remains fixed. Having two separated window, I think probably will help a little more.
Yes, correct.
In
intake and outlet.
Yes. Correct. So I think the answer to that is you should have planned ventilation. One window over the other may not make much of a difference, but having two separate openings strategically placed in the direction of the wind will make a bigger difference. One question that's come from Jyoti Ramalingam, our good friend in the testing industry, which I think may not get addressed here, but it's still a very interesting question we keep getting based on site experience all the time. How to address the size undulations of civil work? Does a cost-effective subframe answer the question of having to deal with these situations on site? So, I mean, I'll put that out to anyone who wants to answer it, or maybe and then I'll add my thoughts to it.
I think Michista-san can talk about the Ivan where we can adjust at side.
Okay. For this subframe issue, it's very big theme, I think, for our window manufacturers. So for our products, one of the characteristic point is so to adjust the panel by both rollers beside the panels. So these rollers are adjustable. Therefore, we can absorb some of the gap of this structure. But the subframe issue is very a big theme for us also. So which is cost effective? It's not easy to answer, I think. But
I'll try and answer that for you. So traditionally, what used to happen, now just we'll talk about the residential segment. So traditionally what would happen, you had a beam framed RCC structure, and then we would do brickwork, blockwork, plaster. And that's the reason we would always have, a 1 or 2 or 3% tolerance on the window size. I think most significant projects or most developers who are serious about what they're making, which would be applicable, people who would consider a product like YKK for their building are now making their buildings in aluminum shuttering in concrete. So in that, what's happening is you're almost getting a 1 or 2 millimeter tolerance for your opening anyways. So I think this, whoever in the audience has posted this question about window size tolerance, I think we will see in the next couple of years, this issue will automatically disappear.
Fantastic, and amen to that, because I think that really plagues the best window systems trying to fit within a very oddly cast civil opening. I'll take one very relevant questions to the current times we are living in. COVID environment obviously requires ventilation to keep the viral load low, and that's actually very critical point, which Carl also raised, where you don't have well ventilated homes, and then suddenly the sickness increases because the homes are not very well ventilated. But there's air filtration also necessary to reduce viral transfer. How do we address this dichotomy? Open the window, but the air outside as it is comes in. Is there a way to address it? I mean, the answer is probably no, but then I'll probably leave that to the panel to answer. So yeah, I guess no is the answer to that. But I think, in my opinion, the air outside obviously will improve the livable quality of the space on the inside. Filtration obviously comes as a question for mechanically exhausted spaces or centrally air-conditioned spaces where before reintroducing the same air back into the space, you might need some kind of filtration system that actually gives you better quality air as an exchange of the older air. We'll take on a few more questions before we move to the next section. I think we've all touched upon window systems. We had a very brief touch point on glass as well. The question is, how much do you think glass selection is important for the occupant comfort in climate like India?
It's absolutely important. I mean, it's the most critical decision. There's probably no more important decision than choosing the right glass and choosing the right thermal brake system.
Yeah, we also agree.
Yeah, just
the
to
glass
add
is
to
very
that,
important.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think we do not have the climate like Middle East where there's more conductive heat gain, or we do not live in a climate like Europe where there's more conductive heat loss from inside to outside. We live in a tropical climate where we actually gain a lot of heat through radiation. And glass is the transparent component in your window that brings that radiation in. So I think choosing the glass apart from your window system is obviously a very important decision you need to make early on in the project. I think with that, we'll just move to the next section. Baiju, maybe you can start talking about the systems that you have in place that you guys have specially customized for India.
Yeah, so I'll be giving a detailed presentation about the IVNS system that we have already launched in India. So like we plan to develop and provide windows that match the climate of each region by studying the living environment of that region. So as already discussed in the panel discussion, so we plan to develop the system as per the country we are launching. In addition to that, we aim to provide a comfortable living environment in the countries where we operate our business. So the basic concept of this product is high performance, user functionality, and safety and comfortability. Then next is about the performance and product lineup of IVNS. So the performance, the structural performance is 2.5 kPa we have tested. The air infiltration is 1.12 meter cube at 75 pascals. The water tightness is 350 and 300 pascals, depending on the type of sill we use. So like we have two different types of step sill. So this is the step sill, where there is a difference in height between the outer track and the inner track, and this is the flat sill. So like we use two types of sill, and because of that we achieve the water tightness. So this slide talks about the air tightness and water tightness. So for air tightness, we use like hard and soft gaskets depending on the section where there is contact with the profile. And like we don't use wool pile in our system, and by using like different types of gaskets, we are able to achieve a better air tightness. And for water tightness, we use a step system, so which enables us to give very good water tightness of 350 pascals. And sealer pad is designed to keep water from entering and giving sufficient water tightness. So like we use sealer pad at all four corners of the window. Then next is like this is the chart of the noise environment we live in. So like the noise reduction is dependent on the use of the glass, but our IVNS system is designed in such a way that you can reduce almost 30 dB by using a DGU glass. Then this is about the wind stopper. So like we use wind stoppers with layers, which keeps the balance of air tightness and water tightness and ensures smooth operation. And also we use dust proof cap at the bottom. So there is very less chance of dust coming inside so like we get a very good air tightness. And like as I already discussed earlier, so we don't use the conventional wool pipe, but we use like soft and hard gaskets depending on the section where there is contact with the profile. Then like this is about the in-house testing we have done. So like we have tested almost 30,000 times of opening and closing the shutter, and we have found that there is no disorder for operation. So this is almost equivalent to 10 years of usage, which is like 8 times opening and closing per day. And also like for weight greater than 80 kgs, we use our double roller. So this is the double roller we are using. So for like weight where there is greater than 80 kgs, our standard is double roller. And this is like high quality accessories which are made in-house, as Mr. Rajat explained. So everything like we manufacture it is in-house, like the anti-lift device, the hook lock, the large handle, support handle, the end stopper, the style caps, like the friction stay, the handle. So everything is manufactured in-house. And also the profiles are manufactured in Boruka in Mysore. And also like we give finish options of powder coating and anodizing, which is also in-house. Then this slide talks about the safety aspect. The system has got a function which has got an anti-lift device. So the anti-lift device is set standard for both inner and outer shutters. So it prevents the shutters from falling out of position. So when you, if you see on the photo on the right hand side, when you set it to standard, so it prevents the shutters from falling outside. Then like this slide talks about the safety cap. So there is a safety cap at the upper end and lower end of the interlocking section. And there is also the end stopper. So the end stopper is used to prevent the hand by getting hit from the shutter. So by using the end stopper, the fingers are being prevented from being getting caught in the window. Then this slide talks about the support handle. So like, have you experienced difficulty in opening like very heavy sliding shutters with multi-layer glass? So like we have a solution for for the support handle, which focuses attention on easy operation. So by using the support handle, the initial force to open the door is reduced almost to half. So if you see the chart, like without using the support handle, the initial force is required almost 100%. But by using the support handle, the initial force reduces to almost 50%. So it is very good to initially open the windows, and then you can easily slide it. Then this talks about the safety aspect. So this system has got a function to prevent the shutters from falling out of position. A slot in the frame which keeps the friction stay in position. So even if the this device prevents the shutters from falling, even if the screws from the friction stay may fall out of the position. So this is like a very important safety aspect. So even if the screws are falling out of the friction stay, it prevents the shutters from falling out of the frame. Yeah, so this was the presentation for the IVIN.
Great, thanks, Vaju. I think there's quite a few interesting features which I think bring in some good value in the experiential aspects of using Windows from the inside, but as well as some of the other critical factors like safety. I think we hope everybody has picked up some features which they liked. Maybe we can try and get the next poll on the screen about which features would they think are the most important or the ones that they'd like the most. So which features you think are the most important, the ones you value the most: water tightness, noise reduction, air infiltration, high quality accessories, and operability and safety. Can we have the answers over the next 30 seconds, please? Yeah, I think the answers almost seems like there should have been a sixth option, all of the above, because they all seemed important for most people. But I think operability and safety obviously takes the cake here, because the windows have to be safe. They are your interaction to the outside world, so safety becomes extremely important. I think there have been some more questions pouring in. If I'll take a few more questions, and my apologies, we may not be able to answer all questions, because there are certain questions which require some more participation from the industry. Perhaps there could be developers on the panel, etc., or some other professionals who could have answered it better. But I think some system related questions, one question which I think is very relevant and becomes a question that's highly important in the Indian context. Does YKK have a roller mosquito mesh or a safety bar that can be integrated into the system? Is that something that you guys have in play already, or something that you guys are planning to bring on board?
Baiju or Michista-san, please.
Yeah, for fly screen, of course, already we have. And currently, this fly screen is only for the sliding windows and doors. But the windows and other types now we are as we showed by Mr. Baiju. So just like a
Yeah, that's a good move, because the whole mosquito fly screen installation is such an aftermarket thing that it spoils the best of the Windows systems. So if you can integrate it in your product as a sort of properly integrated system, I think that's a good one. And I must say, Baiju, I was quite impressed with the way you all have designed the drainage at the bottom of the frame. Every time we approve shop drawings of fabricators, we draw that detail ourselves and we say, please make something like this. But they never come back to us with that detail. So to say it's already there in your integrated system, it's a good move.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks. That actually leads to my next question, which somebody has been trying to type in almost every possible window on Zoom right now, which is about leaking windows. So developers, homeowners, I think their biggest problem currently is that their windows leak, probably in the first monsoon after completing their windows. And the question is about why 100% testing is not specified. I'll probably take part of that question, but I'll open it up to the rest of the panel as well. Is that a problem specific to India only? And maybe Michista-san can answer that part about whether it's a problem abroad as well, that windows leak there as well, and what is typically done to address it.
So water leakage problem, usually in Japan, from the windows, we seldom see this. Because as we introduce that kind of the drainage system, we call step seal. That is just one of our system. Actually, in Japan, we have various types of the drainage system also. But as we explained, we chose that kind of the step seal system in India, because in India, whether the rain volume also we consider, then we selected that. So to be honest, of course, in Japan also, we have some water leakage problems happen, but from normal windows in the normal housing, I can say we seldom see this. But as we explained, we have entered some market, for example, in Southeast Asian countries. Last time I was in Malaysia. At the time also, in Malaysia, we saw out of water leakage problems. Therefore, now, at first, as we mentioned, performance is very important. The window performance is very important. Therefore, every time we consider this water tightness performance for each areas, each country.
Also, Gautam, I want to add that it's not, I think part of the problem is that a lot of window manufacturers have not thought of this. But I think also part of the problem is the design detailing. That's where people like yourself come in. What tends to happen is architects, we'll just draw like a wall and we'll plonk in a window. So what we've started to do in the last 5-7 years is within the profile of the concrete, we're giving a step sill. So, if you can see what I'm doing with my hand, we're giving a step sill within the profile of the concrete so that you sit your window down at this surface. So no matter how good or bad the window works or doesn't work, we try to make a foolproof system. The other thing which I quite liked in Baiju's presentation is the drainage is not that typical rubber cap. It's hidden behind the aluminum. So when you hide the drainage behind the aluminum, even if the wind force is extremely strong, the water will still come out. The part of the problem is that typically the drainage is just like a little rubber cap on top, and when the wind force is too strong, the water simply doesn't come out. It comes back into your house. So by doing this flashing like detail, I think that problem will get solved.
Great. I think I'll take the question on the testing component. I think the reason why people ask, let's test 100% of our windows, because they'll have less amount of confidence. And I like Carl and Michita-san mentioned, we should try and address these on the drawing board itself. So when you have a step sill in your window, when you have slope drainage on the outside, when your weep holes are concealed rather than exposed, I think they solve a large part of your problem in making sure the wind-driven rain doesn't get in, and making sure that the sill interface between your window subframe and the civil opening is very well sealed, very concisely designed. I think once we move into that direction, this whole request of having to test windows 100% because the windows leak all the time should gradually disappear, and that's what we think should happen with good systems entering the market. I think we have overshot the time assigned for this by a good margin. So I'll pass it back to Mohit Bhai. I think if you have any closing remarks to make. Mohit ji? Savio, perhaps if you want to.
I don't think Mohit is, I think he's having some technical issues. Anyways, the session was quite eventful. We had good polls and we had some really interesting questions that were, thrown in by the audience. The idea again of this masterclass was to educate, the audience who was there. On behalf of World of Fenestration and ABEC, I would like to thank especially the YKK group and Boruca Aluminium for, being part of this initiative. Special mention to Carl for the wonderful presentation and the thesis that he gave us. And obviously, Gautam, thanks so much for taking time out to moderate this, masterclass. And once again, it was eventful, and hopefully we'll be doing a couple of more in the near future.
I will just want to say one small thing. We've all had our presentations, but nobody's talked about Gautam. I think Gautam is a facade designer who's taking window systems and facade extremely seriously, and he interfaces between the Indian context and his larger Inhabit group, which is an international organization. And I think all our Indian concerns are being addressed through international expertise with the way they are redefining their details to suit the Indian context. So Gautam, always a pleasure working with you, and great to see your sketches, which always come with a solution to the problem.
I totally second that.
Thank you so much. I think plugs are always welcome. So if anybody wants to say some good things, it's always a pleasure.
But I completely second Carl on that. And Gautam and Carl are also a part of our WOF advisory board, and they've been supporting us all this while, in the last many years now. WOF has been WOF because of the entire support of the advisory board over the years. So yeah, but I think Carl, good suggestion. I think next time we should come up with such a panel where the moderator also speaks. You know, a moderator should also have an opportunity to speak rather than just moderating the session. Let us see if we can come up with something more innovative for the next time.
Yeah, because Gautam has many more hidden talents except for his eloquence.
Oh, is it? So that is something which we need to see it offline. Yeah.
Okay. As you can see, I'm turning red already. Let's try and close the session.
Thank you so much, Gautam ji. Thank you so much, Carl.
Thanks everyone. Thanks,
your contribution was very valuable. Thank you, Ace Tech team. Thank you, everyone who took the time out and participated today. And please feel free to get in touch with us if you want to continue discussions on any topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.